focus on the tides. If it's loud enough, then you can hear what's been on your mind.
The fall to the bottom is subtle. I'm chasing joy, but I'm followed by trouble. Try to stay positive, sorry I struggle, but even a king can get lost in the shuffle. Hang on, I'm busy, I'll call in a couple. I know I'm coping and calling it hustle. My circle shrank, but my volume has doubled. I hope it replaces my mom saying love you. I'm way too loaded as shit, faded as fuck. My body is dizzy and loose. I'm thugged like a frisbee, the water is Tiffany blue.
There's always trouble in paradise, so just stare at the lights. If you're blinded by it, you can see who's not by your side. There's always trouble in paradise, just focus on the tides. If it's loud enough, then you can hear what's been on your mind.
Ain't nothing changed but the height of my walls. Oh, I can hide like a spider can crawl. I always ride for my dogs, but when I need love, I'm the one who's providing it all. Being my hero has become the norm. Burning these bridges is keeping me warm. Burning these bridges is keeping me warm. When it gets too hot, I just chief up a storm. I'm way too loaded as shit, faded as fuck. My body is dizzy and loose. I'm thugged like a frisbee, the water is Tiffany blue.
There's always trouble in paradise, so just stare at the lights. If you're blinded by it, you can see who's not by your side. There's always trouble in paradise, just focus on the tides. If it's loud enough, then you can hear what's been on your mind. The fall to the bottom is subtle. I'm chasing joy, but I'm followed by trouble. Trying to stay positive, sorry I struggle. The fall to the bottom is subtle. There's always trouble in paradise. There's always trouble in paradise, so just stare at the lights. If you're blinded by it, you can see who's not by your side.
Good afternoon. What's going on, guys? I'm feeling a little bit better. I just spent most of the day in bed and just rested. But we got a little bit to talk about from the previous stream. I'll go ahead and switch over here. What's going on, Dolphin? How you doing, buddy? Alan, what's good, man? How you doing? So, was it yesterday or the day before? I think it was the day before. We had our triumphant return. We have essentially completed the Bitcoin long position from a couple months ago. Last time we really talked was down in this region here. And that was coming off of this long entry for BTC. Now, hopefully, as I talked about on the previous stream, a lot of you guys held on to this position if you got into it. I'm sure that it has been a learning lesson for some of you. You know, every time the market, you know, slides sideways for 2 or 3 days, I'm sure that eats away and you start feeling that itch to take your profit. Now, I mean, if you would have taken your profit here, you know, you're probably not feeling a lot of FOMO. But if you would have taken it here or here, it could have been bad, you know? Could have eaten up a lot of the profit that you gained to the upside. Now, the oppositional trade is now in play. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't here to mark that out for anybody that missed it otherwise, but hopefully you guys are paying attention. and you guys did capitalize on this macro ABC short position. Now, I did end up yesterday taking profit on the Bitcoin long when we did go below the A on this minor time frame. Now, I mean, we're looking at a 2-hour chart that's zoomed out to the tits here. So, I mean, if we were to kind of enlarge this, it's not significant, but it is well structured. So we have an A to a B to a C. So once we surpassed 106.561, I went ahead and just exited the trade. So all in all, that trade ended up being, I did go back and double check. I was using a 1.5% stop loss on that trade. So not quite exact here. There we go. That's as close as I'm going to get it. So that ended up being a 26 R&R trade. Pretty fantastic. I think I got stopped out 2 times. I want to say 4 maximum. So really, really good on that one. Now, I'm not quite sure if I would re-enter if we do happen to bump back above 106. It's hard for me to want to trust it. There's really not a whole lot to lose here, unless we dance around this range significantly. My idea would be that if we do happen to bump back against 106, that could potentially be another boost to the upside. And if we can clear this previous all-time high quite significantly, then we probably have a bit more to go. So I would like a larger structure, but I think this is all we have to really work with. Now, the rest of the market, LTC, for example, is in a prime position for another major leg to the upside. All right. So that kind of gives me an idea that BTC will make another stride. Obviously, I'm not here to say whether or not it will go to one side or the other, but just just looking at this LTC, I mean, it just plain and simple. We have an A to a B, and then within that B wave, you can see a very clear and decisive 3-cut trend, which that entry point for LTC, if you do care to jump into it, is here at roughly 92.19. And then obviously we would be aiming for the local high here of 107.06. And then that would be our hedge short position for LTC if we do happen to put in the higher high and then come back down below. Ethereum, we talked about this the other day. I didn't really think it was going to do it, but we did end up putting in the higher high over here quite shortly. I didn't catch it. I just wasn't around to see that happen. Yeah, it happened at about 4 a.m. I didn't have an alert set up on it. But yeah, we did end up putting in the ABC top on Ethereum. So obviously looking for probably a return back down to these levels. So it's kind of up in the air. LTC makes me feel like we do have one more major stride in the market before any sort of top resolution. Obviously, Ethereum looks quite a bit different with its ABC top being put in place. And then obviously the local lows down here. And then BTC having the macro ABC pretty much signaling a market end if we cannot break back above 109 anytime soon. Because the major thing that people are going to get caught up in if they're not holding onto the short position, is if we do happen to get rejected here in terms of an ABC top, in terms of local low levels, there is nothing significant to catch us on the way down. Because when we look at where we might be able to find support, of course, we look at everything, but more importantly, I look at the opposing trend that is directly correlated to the trend I'm currently in, and that being this line here. All right. We're looking at a local low here, 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 and obviously the macro local low here. But once again, I want to reiterate that these are not significant local lows. These were very momentary price action. And of course, could they be used as support? Of course. But the chances of them being significant support against any significant downside pressure is quite low. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is an ultimate rejection. The fall from here will be quite fast. And there won't be much catch. So if you are not in a short position based off of the macro local high here, it's hard for me to say you should be in one. Now, if you're on spot, it's a little bit easier to just go ahead and sell, a portion of your portfolio because, on spot you're able to deal with larger stop losses and not get hurt quite as easily. But yeah, like I said, if we don't get back above 106, 106,538, it gets harder and harder to say that we're going to bounce back from here. Now, obviously, we could cut deeper, down to these levels. And then if we put in, a larger B to C wave, this would obviously be the most optimal to form a higher support region that has more significance attached to it. And if we see that, I would have more confidence in that this region can hold, and then we can continue from there. But as it sits, this is a very dangerous place to be a bull. Like I said, that can change, but only if we can recapture 106,538. Go ahead and look at SPY today. SPY really doesn't have any significant structure on it, calling for a top. It does look like it is forming an A to a B, and then most likely a C. But obviously the SPY doesn't always work the same way as the crypto market. We do get ABCs, but they're a little bit more lengthy. You can see right here, this was a double bottomed ABC. And then obviously we had the larger one back here as well. So I wouldn't really expect anything on the smaller time frames for that. Thank you for the super chat, man. I really appreciate that. How you doing today, man? Glad to see you around. I'm trying to get the chat to scroll up here because I missed a couple messages. There we go. End times. Yo, I haven't seen you in a while. Don't usually do this, but I like to throw a coin your way. There's a token on Sol called Lucia, based on the main character in GTA 6. It's only 122k market cap right now. I mean, it kind of sounds like dog shit. But, we're just not in the type of market where I think meme coins... Obviously, I bite my tongue because every time I say this, there's some stupid coin that goes, 100,000%. But, obviously, that's starting from zero, and it's easy to say, look, it went up 5 cents. It's up 5,000%. But sure, for shits and giggles here, I'll take a look at it. It's not popping up on TradingView, and that... kind of tells me what I need to know. Now, if it just is around, anyways, I'm a pattern trader. All right, so if it is a newer coin, then there's probably nothing for me to really say, anyways. But I appreciate you being here, nonetheless. Pogo Stick, what's going on, man? How you doing? Head and Shoulders forming finally. I see it a few months ago. Head and Shoulders down to 40K. I would like to see it. Obviously, you know me. I'm an if this then that guy. I can't really just say 40K out of nowhere. But with an ABC of this size, obviously we would be looking at local lows. So, I mean, if we plot it out, let's see here. Let's go ahead and plot this out. All right, so we have local low here, 74. We have local low here. It's kind of a region. We would say 53 to 49. We have a local low here at 38.5. And we have local low here, 25. Local low here, 19. Local low here, 15. So, I mean, that's... I could see that happening. I definitely could. If we saw a gracious dip from here, I would say we would probably catch support around 50K. Probably range for quite a bit. And then I would think we would have a little vloop, down between that 49 to 40K region. Just a cash grab. And then we would recover this region. And that might be the fell swoop into the next bull market here, because like I said, the bear markets are going to become less severe. The bull markets are going to become less severe. The trend is still going to be up. That's just how the math works. But the spikes is where we're really going to see a difference. I do think the sell-offs are going to be still quite dramatic. And we can see the buyback was even dramatic. I think the problem why we overexpected a lot in this bull market is due to the fact that people caught on. You can definitely tell that people started to really understand Bitcoin. And because of that, the bear market recovered fairly quickly. So we got back to these levels, but we didn't have the supply pressure to really push any further. And then we kind of stalled out. And then the bull market hit. And yes, not the bull market, but the halving hit. And yes, we did have a reaction off of it to, pump a little bit higher here, especially putting in a new all-time high just a couple days ago. But it's not enough. So I think this next bear market, if it's here, or maybe we go a little bit higher, it's not going to be like a deep cut like this. It's going to be more stunted is the best way I could use for it. But this would be a really nice scenario, in my opinion. Now, obviously, could it be a quick cut? Does it have to be a huge range? No, it could be a fairly quick cut, just like how it was over here, and then we pick it back up. Is Johnny not streaming? Not seen him in a while. I talk to Johnny every now and then. We kind of just been, going different modes at the moment. He invested into a business, so he's doing that. Sloth, how you doing, buddy? I'm a sick boy, Sloth. Sick boy. Hey, Kite, can you check out Wildcoin? Sure. Not a whole lot of price action, but what we do see is a big fat ABC. Now, unfortunately, the A to C has quite a bit of distance between the two of it, but the structure is there nonetheless. So you know what I'm going to say. All right. If you're above the A, you do have some sort of semblance of bullishness. But obviously with an altcoin, and as well as that, the structure being so far apart here, there is going to be more variance on this support line here. So your best case scenario, now this is something you have to wait for and you might not get, but your best case scenario would be, us generously pumping past, this level here, and then having some sort of structure coming back down that you might be able to enter in, having 2 levels of support for your long position if you are looking to make a long position. Now, we do have kind of an ABC top on the smaller time frame. It's very, very thin, so it's not something that I can really say for certain. But this could be a rejection from an ABC top on a smaller time frame as well. So I mean, you could be playing this as a resistance rather than a possible support. Obviously, it just depends on how you look at the market and what you're hoping for. But there's really no hedge trade here. It's really not well structured in terms of that. So it's kind of one side play for this, which on an altcoin, you don't want to be, spreading yourself too thin anyways. Yeah, I mean, GTA 6 is, obviously delayed for another couple months, and I think people are getting smarter. I don't think people just are going to buy a coin just because it has the name of a character, But I just don't want to sound like I'm promoting something like that. Now, if we're in the midst of a hyper bull market, I'll be the first one to say, get your money, use something that's, not super risky and, throw a couple bucks in. If you 2x or 3x, just get out. Just get out, man. BTC weekly chart seems very promising. Yes, it does. I'm sure that plays into, this whole idea here, with the dip back down to 50 to 40. Now, if this is a true Head and Shoulders, all right, this is a real Head and Shoulders, then we can start targeting, a return back down to 20 to 15K. Which, maybe it would be good for Bitcoin if something like that happened. Shake a lot of those people out that are scared. Because I think people, the average layman now understands how Bitcoin works. So they're going to buy when things get low. Like my cousin Colby, for example, when Bitcoin was dropping right here over these past couple of months. It wasn't here, actually. It was here. So when we had this dip here, my cousin Colby, he texted me and he was like, "Hey, do you think 80,000 is a good region to buy?" And I'm like, "Actually, yes, it is right now." I really didn't explain to him why I thought that. Obviously, it's because of the ABC, but I was like, yeah, it's actually pretty good buy. I think you should buy here, and if it goes, to 75, go ahead and sell again, and wait and for a while and see what happens. And so far, it's worked out for him. And he's a lawn care guy. He really doesn't pay attention to this stuff, but he kind of, he knew that hey, Bitcoin's good. It goes down, I buy. And I think a lot of people feel that way now. So, if we do see something quite drastic, 25,000, that's going to shake a lot of boots and people are going to lose faith. And that's where Bitcoin performs best, is where it has time to cook. Because then it goes and does something crazy, and then everybody's wrapped up in it again. So maybe that's what it needs. Maybe that's what it needs. John, what's going on, man? Yeah, I was filming a like a mock video because I've been trying to like piece together how I'm gonna phrase it and like how I want to present it. And you know, like that kind of just put me in the mood to stream tonight, even though I don't necessarily feel 100% up to it. But the video was about frame generation. You guys obviously know I'm a gamer. That's what I like to do. And frame generation, you know, just having something to talk about here. You know, obviously I know a lot of people aren't gamers out there, but NVIDIA and their new graphics cards, they've been getting a lot of hate, and rightfully so, because they're basically using frame generation as a means to say that their new cards are ridiculously crazy. And over the past like month and a half, I've been experimenting with something called dual GPU lossless frame generation, which is an application that's on Steam that costs $7. And essentially, it's an open source frame generation software that can be used in any game. It can be used on movies or YouTube videos or anything media related. And essentially, you know, let's say you're getting 60 or 70 FPS, you can double your frame rate. So visually, your experience is enhanced. Now, your input latency gets like minusculely slightly worse by like 3 to 5 milliseconds, which is nothing. But the problem is that people have been using frame generation in a very bad way. One, NVIDIA and AMD lock the settings, so you have no control over the latency. So you're forced to use whatever they give you, and you can't use dual GPU. Like right now, I have a 3090 and a 5700 XT in my system. And if I wanted to, you know, play the games that I want to play at 4K, 144 hertz at ultra settings, I would have to go spend $3,000 on a 5090, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I would probably have to upgrade most of my other system anyway. So we're looking at $4,000 probably. Now I could sell my 3090 for 600, 700 bucks, but you know, that's not really a dent. So I went on to Facebook Marketplace and I picked up a 5700 XT for 150 bucks. I am fortunate enough to be able to just plug it into my system. You know, my motherboard was compatible. It had the correct PCIe version. My power supply was powerful enough to support the new card, which is only running at about 80 to 90 watts. So it wasn't anything really significantly extra on the system. And it's flawless. Like, I haven't been this excited about the performance of my computer since I was like 14 years old. And I finally got an actual graphics card and was able to play like real games, not just Minecraft. You know, seeing, you know, games like Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon Forbidden West, you know, ultra modded Skyrim, you can name it, you know. These games are single player games where you want to experience what the developer has to offer. So, you know, with a 3090, if I can push 60 to 70 frames consistently 99% of the time, all right, and then just go ahead and double that, shoo-wee, man. It's such a flawless thing. But the problem is with single GPU cards trying to run frame gen, your base frame rate drops. So like, let's say you're getting 60 to 70 FPS, but then you turn on frame gen, well, then you might drop all the way down to 40, and then you're doubling it to 80. So yeah, you're technically gaining FPS, but the game feels like shit and it looks like shit because they're getting artifacting, because you really don't want to use frame generation below 60 FPS, or else artifacting is quite an issue. But I was just trying to get a video to like get people more aware of this, because I feel like it's an incredible way for people to save a shit ton of money. And more importantly, prevent these companies from continuing to price gouge. Because if everybody keeps upgrading because they need to, in order to play the latest and greatest games, then they can just keep charging whatever they want. But with $150, which I would probably just spend on DoorDash if I was a little bit depressed, boom, I'm doubling and even tripling my frame rate. Now, I really want to go past a 3x frame gen, because you do start getting a lot of, just bad graphics. But 3x is playable. 2x is perfect. Like, it's flawless. I use it in pretty much every game that I can now. And if you are getting 120 FPS and you're on a 240 hertz monitor and you want to double it to 240, I believe you can play competitive video games with frame generation. Now, if you're able to get 100 FPS on a 144 hertz monitor, you don't want to drop your FPS to 67 locked and then double it to 144, because then you're losing latency. You're playing a competitive game, so latency is what you're trying to aim for. But like I said, for non-competitive video games, whether it be multiplayer or single player, as long as you're getting 60 to 70 FPS, boom, you throw in that second card, and it's so simple and easy too. You just go ahead and you click your preferred GPU and you run it. But I feel like it's not well known. Like, I didn't know about this until maybe a month and a half ago, and it was just so cheap to get into that I gave it a shot, and it ended up working out fantastic. I've been having a blast going back and playing some games and experiencing it at its maximum quality. It's quite crazy. I even broke out a 240 hertz monitor and tried out Marvel Rivals at ultra settings, which I can't do with my regular monitor. I frame gened that up to 240, and I was actually able to play, because like I said, if you're getting 120 and then you double it, you really have no issues with latency. So yeah, that's what I've been interested in lately in terms of like a little hobby, because it's such a fascinating thing. I think back to it, like, in the early 2010s, we started seeing like interpolation on TVs. So now to see that in gaming form and work out in a usable way is really good. I'm very excited about the technology for it to only get better and better. 5090s or power hungry cards. I mean, that's another issue too. As an adult gamer, we got to think about our power bills. So, if you can run a very efficient setup, then you're killing it. Then I'm expecting a bounce at 74 to 66. Oh, you think we're coming down to 74 to 66? That's pretty long way down. You think we're going to hit the actual local low? I mean, I hope so, because the larger the range, the more money we make, right? Laughs and rich. But I think that we probably would see something closer to this if we are going to get another stretch to the upside here. How long have we been streaming here? And check over here. No, it's about 10 more minutes. I'm probably gonna go lay back down. I should be. I'm hoping that I'll be good to go about in maybe 2 more days. And then I can get up and moving around. Getting outside. I need to get the spark plugs in my car replaced. I just had my car worked on. I just spent like $1,000 on it. Because the radiator fan came loose and was overheating the car. So I got that replaced. They also replaced some of the piping or whatever that goes to it, because apparently that got cut up a little bit as it came loose. But like the past couple of days, like when I'm idling and when if anybody's a car person, let me know if this lines up with spark plugs. Just because I don't know much about cars, but so like when I start up the car, it starts up, it gets going. It starts up a little bit rougher, and it just sounds like the engine's almost sputtering a little bit. Not enough for it to be like, oh shit, but it's like, that can't be good. And then when it's idling low, I can hear like a very slight clicking sound. And once again, like I only can describe it as sputtering a little bit. When I accelerate, I can hear the same sound. It doesn't increase in how loud it is, but I can still like faintly hear it. I'm not experiencing any like lag in acceleration. At least I drive very methodically. I'm not like I don't step on my gas or anything, but I haven't noticed like any like major shift in like the power of the vehicle. When I'm like coasting, I can definitely hear the sputtering sound a little bit more. Like if I just have my, the car's moving, but I have my foot off the gas and I'm just coasting, I can kind of hear it. So my thought process is that like my spark plug's not dead. Maybe it's one cylinder, maybe it's all of them, I don't know. I'm at 80,000 miles on the vehicle and the spark plugs have never been changed. So it's getting to that point anyways, just to be safe with it. But like, I think they're kind of just starting to get corroded. So maybe they're not getting sufficient power. At least that's what I hope it is. Because the whole thing is like, I can go spend, $180 to get a diagnosis. But that's $180 on top of whatever they're going to tell me to do. So if I have a general idea of what it could be, and then just ask them to just do that, then I'll be saving $180. Now, obviously, if they come back, fix it, and then it's still doing that, then obviously that sucks. But once again, I have to get the spark plugs replaced anyways. But if anybody's a car dude, let me know if that's, something you can do. Masani said, I can sponsor you. I can sponsor you a Samsung Odyssey Arc monitor. What's a Samsung Odyssey Arc? What is that? Samsung Odyssey Arc. What the world? Hey man, if you 55 inches, what in the world? I don't even think I can fit that on my desk, Brody. Why this monitor in particular? Oh my lord. You're willing to see? What's the terms and conditions here? What are we looking at? How do I get this? The monitor that I was eyeballing was it a Dell? No, it was the Asus. I think it was a 1440p OLED. It's one of their newer ones. pretty sure it's a 240 hertz. I think this one is it right here. Yeah, this is the one that I've been eyeballing. I just been seeing if there's a sale that I can pick it up on. But my goal is like every couple days I skip a day of, you know, nicotine usage, and I put that money towards the cool stuff that I want to buy. I'm just trying to be more economical and smart with my money. You know, when the YouTube channel got started and we did all those challenges and stuff, I just spent money so wildly. So I'm trying to be a little bit more conservative and think about stuff. But shit, man. You know, if you want to sponsor a monitor, we can definitely talk. I am down for cool shit anytime. Now this one's also like another option that I've been looking at, because it's about $400 more, but obviously it's 4K, same hertz. The one thing that I can't get a quite clear description of is the peak brightness, because a lot of these OLED monitors say HDR 400, and I'm currently rocking an HDR 1000, and I tested it. My peak nit brightness is 1150 nits. Obviously I don't run it at its max peak brightness all the time, but like I like the quality that you can get with a full HDR 1000. You know, this is the one that I'm using right now. I'm using an Asus PG27UQ, which I was actually very afraid. I've been having issues with the heating of it, and it's been shutting off. After, like, if I keep the brightness at max, it will shut off after a certain period of time. But I just took an air duster to it a couple of days ago, and it completely fixed the issue. I no longer... Monk's calling me. I no longer get, you know, fan noise from it, and it no longer shuts off. So here's to another good couple years out of this monitor. Because when I bought this monitor, it was $2,000. It was the first. Oh, I don't want to show any of my address information here. Yeah, so we'll just exit off of that. But yeah, the Asus PG27VQ, it was ahead of its time. It was a 4K 144 hertz HDR 1000. It had faulty LEDs in it, so you could actually get dimming zones to get true blacks. It was really just a phenomenal monitor, and still is. That's what makes it hard for me to upgrade. But obviously OLED is better. And obviously higher hertz. Money Mike, sub Kite, been a long time since I caught a stream. Good to see you still on here. Good to see you too, man. I'm getting over a sickness right now, but you know, I'm trying to be on here and have some good talks. I don't think anything semiconductor electronic related has the tariffs on it yet. I think those go into effect in a couple months, and it's like 20%. Yeah, I'm an Asus guy when it comes to monitors. They charge a premium, but in my experience, the quality control is significantly higher. For example, on my left, I have an Alienware, which is made by Dell. And it has terrible smearing issues. It's a 240 hertz monitor, 1080p. It's a competitive FPS monitor, but it's unusable to me because the image quality is so bad. I really regret the purchase. But every time I've gotten an Asus monitor, it's been flawless. Who makes? I mean, I'm sure I haven't really tried a Samsung monitor, but in the case of the Odyssey that you suggested to sponsor me with, I just could not see I already have a 65-inch television above me, having a 55-inch screen on my desk. I feel like my granddad at that point. It's a really cool screen, but I just couldn't see myself with that. And it's also has to do with pixels per inch. A lot of people, they'll debate all day whether or not a 4K should ever exist on a 27-inch monitor. But in my opinion, it is so crisp on a 27-inch monitor. I'm sure it looks good on a 32 as well, but I think 27 inches is probably my maximum for a desk setup on a screen. 32 inch, you're just getting into closer and closer to TV territory at that point. He said, dude, you have to go for a Samsung gaming monitor. Well, what does Samsung have to offer? This is all theoretical. Like I said, I'm looking to save up for this. Let's see. Let me type in Samsung 240 hertz 4K. 32 inch, 27 inch. That one goes to 180, but that's made by Dell. So it looks like they only offer 32 inch variants. You say you can split it into 4 screens and run 3 parallel operating systems? That is nuts. That is nuts. You said you got an Odyssey G5. Back when we were, full-time streaming and the bull market was going in 2020, I was really considering the Odyssey G5. I just couldn't pull the trigger because actually, that is the wrong thing to say. I actually pulled the trigger 3 separate times. Okay, so not the G5. I was looking at the G9, or the older variant of the G9. I ordered it 3 separate times, and that ended up every time. Like, I would go to bed and I'd be like, I don't need it, and then I would cancel the order. And then like a couple days later, I would order it again, and then the same thing would happen. And I finally got through it, and I was like, I can't. But yeah, this was the monitor I was looking at. The issue with these, let's see, what's the resolution on this? You said, then let's do your Asus in a 5080. Will that be helpful for you? That would be insane. Listen, man, if you're 100% on that, then hit me up on Discord. We'll work something out. I can't sell you body parts, but Uh, that's a hefty price tag. Um, but yeah, that's something that I got in the works. So it's 3440 by 1440. What's the 3440 by 1440? That is 4.9 million pixels. So I think it's a little bit harder to push than 4K because 4K is 3160 by. Wait, no. What is 4? Why am I blanking on this? I play it every day. 4K resolution size. 3840. Okay. I was replacing the 2160, so 3840 by 2160 is okay, so it's not even that hard to push. But once again, it comes down to pixels per inch. You lose a lot of the visual clarity when you go, especially to that significant size of an ultra wide. I think the G9 actually has a larger. I think it's like 5,000 something by 1440. Am I wrong on that? Yeah, it's 5,120 by 1440. 5,120 by 1440. Okay, so it's not. It's a little bit less than 4K. So you will get better performance than a 4K screen. And you're not losing a terrible amount of pixels per inch. But yeah, that's a ridiculous monitor. Once again, that's 49 inches from left to right. I mean, that's ridiculous in itself. Listen, man, if you're 100% serious about that, I'm gonna owe you big time. Because, like I said, I've been trying to keep things economical, and if you pull through and just completely uproot and let me experience something that crazy at this moment in time, oh man. So, let me know. Let me know. Let me know what you need to make it happen. Monk, you throwing me to the side for Sloth. Alright, I get it. Sloth is a good guy. We all love Sloth. But come on. You know who you come back to. So I've been a little bit standoffish about this because obviously I don't want to insult. Is there any way you could phonetically type out your name so I can pronounce it correctly? Because usually I call you Vasan because that's the only part of your name that I feel comfortable saying. So if you could like help me say it correctly, that way in the future. But yeah, I mean, if you're honest about that, then that is an amazing gift, and I could not say thank you enough because that's that's a crazy gift, and two, it's obviously something that I want to get a lot of use out of, and I was actually related to streaming. I was looking into codecs, and unfortunately, my 3090 for how powerful it is doesn't have access to the AV1 codec, which I mean, for what we're doing here right now, doesn't matter, because obviously, like, we're just sitting on a stagnant screen. I don't really need to have the best quality, but I was looking at the 4000 series graphics cards and seeing what I could get a used one for. But yeah, that's something that we're looking at. Srini. Am I saying that right? I'm very sorry if not. Sereni? Are you looking forward to the next Battlefield? I'm going to be honest, I have not seen any information on the next Battlefield. The game that we were looking at today, I have it on my wish list. We were looking at I completely blanked on the name. I'm gonna have to look it back up. It's like an open world MMORPG. Obviously, there's so many things on the list. There's GTA 6. I'm really hoping that they don't dilly dally. On Ghost of Tsushima, not Ghost of Tsushima, but Ghost of Yote. Hopefully it's no more than a year until the port comes to PC. But they've been getting so much faster and faster. About getting their PS5 exclusives to PC. Where is any gameplay here? Is there any gameplay out? Is there a trailer at least? I don't know how much I can trust this. It's probably just like cut together from other gameplay footage. I don't really know if this is BF6. But Battlefield 2, Battlefield 3, I was a religious player of those. I didn't really play any more Battlefield until Battlefield 1 came out. Now, my friends, my friend Monk here, and I'm sure my friend Johnny, they'll shit on me for saying it, but I think Battlefield 1 was a fantastic game. Now, obviously, did it have a lot of what Battlefield traditionally offered? Not really. There wasn't like huge destructible environments. It was mostly like, like a lot of the maps I remember didn't have anything major. But like the gunplay felt so crisp. The movement felt crisp. The day one optimization was flawless. Like you were able to run that game on most hardware day one, which in today's day and age is kind of not the same thing. Game comes out and it runs like dog shit day one. But like that game all around from the day it came out, everything felt great. And I had a lot of fun playing it. It looked fantastic, ran fantastic, and it played fantastic. So the only thing I ever had bad to say about it was the snipers. You had to like be within a pocket range, which doesn't make sense logically, in order to get a one shot. Like the person you're shooting at had to be between 130 and 170 meters away from you. If they were farther than that, it didn't one shot. If they were closer than that, it didn't one shot. Like, to me, that didn't make sense. But that was one of the only things I had an issue with, because I do like the sniping. I'm think if you got a headshot, it was still a one-shot kill. So, is what it is. Battlefield 6 looks like a mix between 3 and 4. I think it'd be good to go back to that. I didn't really enjoy Battlefield 5. One, because the day one experience was awful. Once again, I think I was playing it on a 3090. And day one, it ran like a swamp. Like, it was so janky. And the gameplay just felt so, like, the map that they had as like the primary, which they didn't have a lot of maps at launch, but the map they had at primary was so large, and there was nothing, like, there was so much space in between that nothing really ever got done. And that's what I kind of liked about Battlefield 1 more, was the maps were artistically better, and there was a place to go. Like, you know, if you wanted to play mainly infantry, like there was a place to go where you always had action, and then there was a place to go for vehicles. It was, I can rant and rave about Battlefield 1 all day. And I'm, obviously Battlefield 1, I'm talking about the newest one. I think it came out in like 2016, not like the actual Battlefield 1. All right. My voice is definitely starting to get tired here. I appreciate everybody for showing up. Obviously, last half of the stream we kind of just talked about nerd stuff, but it's always fun to just sit here and talk with you guys. Crypto Andrew, I'm sorry I didn't respond to you, man, but how are you doing? Glad to see you. We talked about all the price points at the beginning of the stream if you want to go back. Like I said, Bitcoin did put in its ABC. It's not confirmed to the upside yet. I do have something drawn out here for an idea of what might happen. Obviously, if we do happen to get back above 106,000 and 500, to be exact here, 106,740. If we do happen to go up, then I probably will enter a long position in hopes. But otherwise, we have the head shorts to the downside with the macro target being 74,000. Ethereum is in a short position. Obviously, we're looking to test some local lows here. LTC looks like it's in a giant A to B. Definitely looks like it wants to go for a C. So that's what has me a little bit more confused there. But all right, guys, I'm going to go rest my voice. I appreciate you for tuning in. Like I said, no promises on when I'll be back or when I'll stream next, but just know I'm thinking about it more and more every day to just come back. So I appreciate you very much, and I will not piggy vroom vroom piggy. I will not. Listen, if things ever get that bad, I will no shame vroom vroom piggy all day. And for anybody that doesn't understand the reference, I don't know that guy's channel name. I'll have to go back through like my history here just to find it. This guy here. So he's a live streamer, and all he does is sit here with a toilet seat on his head and say the same phrases over and over again. All right, so from an outside perspective, this man looks like he lost his mind. But let me tell you, this guy has it figured out. You know, we sat here for like 30, 40 minutes calculating how much this guy makes per stream. On YouTube alone, he usually makes about $100 an hour. But he's also streaming to TikTok, Kick, and Twitch at the same time. So just for shits and giggles, let's say he makes half that on each of those websites. That's an additional $300. So if he makes $300 on YouTube, he's making $600 overall over the course of 3 hours for sitting here with a toilet seat on his head. Listen, if it comes to it, I will do my crypto live streams just like that guy. Like, we'll be talking about crypto. We'll be talking about the price points. But I will be vroom vroom piggy all the way. All right, guys. You guys have a great night. Thank you very much for being here. And I'll see you when I see you. Hopefully it's tomorrow or the next day, but you never know. You know, life does get in the way sometimes. So, all right, guys. You have a great night. I'm not going to do an outro song or anything because the streams ran a little bit long here, but I just want to let you know I love you guys, and see you soon. Bye.